the Bible, and we are in the book of Deuteronomy, and we're currently on our road to we're trying to finish the Bible in a week. So if that's possible, we're gonna see. But yeah, we're also gonna go into topics of the Bible. So but yeah, this first round is going to be a speed run, like a Bible speed run. So they're currently in the book of Deuteronomy, the Ten Commandments. Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, Israel, listen to the statutes and ordinance I am proclaiming as you hear them today. Learn and follow them carefully. The Lord our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. He did not make this covenant with our father, but with all of us who are alive here today. The Lord spoke to you face to face from the fire of the mountain. At the time I was standing between the Lord and you to report the word of the Lord to you, because you were afraid of the fire and did not go up in the mountain. And he said, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery. Do not have other gods besides me. Do not make an idol for yourself in the shape of anything in the heavens, above the earth, below, or in the waters under the earth. Do not bow in worship to them, and do not serve them, because I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children from the fathers inquiry in the third and the fourth generations, those who hate me, but showing faithful love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commands. Do not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Do not misuse the name of the Lord your God, because the Lord will not leave anyone unpunished who misuses his name. Be careful to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy as the Lord your God has commanded you. You are to labor 6 days and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. Do not do any work. You know your sons or daughters, or male or female slave, or your ox or donkey, or any of your livestock, or any resident alien who lives within your city gates, so that your male and female slaves may rest as you do. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and then the Lord your God brought you out of there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. That is why the Lord your God has commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long and so that you may prosper in the land the Lord your God is giving you. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not give dishonest testimony against your neighbor, do not covet your neighbor's wife or desire your neighbor's household, his field. What? Do not desire your neighbor's household, his field, his male or female slave, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. The people's response: the people spoke these commands in a loud voice into your entire assembly from the fire cloud and total darkness on the mountain. He added nothing more. He wrote them on 2 stone tablets and gave them to me. All of you, all of you approached me with your tribal leaders and elders. When you hear the voice from the darkness, and while the mountain was blazing with fire, you said, Look, the Lord your God has shown us his glory and greatness, and we have heard his voice from the fire. Today we have seen that God speaks with a person, yet he still lives. But now, why should we die? This great fire will consume us. Uh, and we will die if we hear the voice of the Lord our God any longer. For who out of the mankind For who for who out of the mankind has heard the voice of the living God speaking from fire? We, as we have and lived, go near and listen to everything the Lord our God has said. Then tell us everything the Lord our God tells you. We will listen and obey. The Lord heard your words. When you spoke to me, he said to me, I have heard the words that these people have spoken to you. Everything they have said that everything they have said is right. If only they had such a heart to fear me and keep all my commands always, so that they and their children would prosper forever. Them, go and tell them, return to your tent, but you stand here with me, and I will tell you every command. The statutes and ordinances you are to teach them, so that they may follow them in the land I am giving them to possess. Be careful to do as the Lord your God has commanded you. You are not to return aside to the right or to the left. Follow the whole instructions the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live proper and long have a long life in the land you will possess. The greatest command. This is the command, the statutes and the ordinance the Lord your God has commanded me to teach you, so that you may follow them in the land you are about to enter and possess. Do this so that you may fear the Lord your God, all of the days of your life, by keeping all the statutes and commands I am giving you, your son and your grandson, so that you may have a long life. Listen, Israel, and be careful to follow them, so that you may prosper and multiply greatly, because the Lord your God of your fathers has promised you a land flowing with milk and honey. Listen, Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These words that I am giving you today are to be in your heart. Repeat them to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house, and then when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Bind them as a sign to your hand, and let them be a symbol on your forehead. Write them on the doorsteps of your house and on your city gates. Remember God through obedience. When the Lord your God brings you into the land that he swore to your fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he would give you a land with a large and beautiful cities that you did not build, house full of every good thing that you did not fill with them, cisterns that you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. And when you eat and are satisfied, be careful not to forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery. Fear the Lord your God, worship him, and take your oaths in the name. Do not follow other gods or gods of the peoples around you. For the Lord your God, who is among you, is a jealous God. Otherwise, the Lord your God will become angry with you and obliterate you from the face of the earth. Do not test the Lord your God as he has tested him as Massa. Carefully observe the commands of the Lord your God. Messiah. The decrees and statutes he has commanded you, do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so that you may prosper and that you may enter and possess the good land and the Lord your God swore to give your fathers by driving out of your enemies before you, as the Lord has said. When your son asks you in the future, what is the meaning of the decrees, statutes, and ordinances that the Lord our God has commanded you, then what is the meaning of the decrees, statutes, and ordinances that the Lord our God has commanded you? Tell them, we were slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt. We were slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand. Before our eyes, the Lord inflicted great and devastating signs and wonders on Egypt and Pharaoh and all of his household. But he brought us from there in order to lead us in and give us the land that he swore in our fathers. The Lord commanded us to follow all these statutes and the fear of the Lord our God for our prosperity always and for our preservation. And as it is today, righteousness will be ours if we are careful to follow it. Every one of those commands before the Lord our God, and he has commanded us. Israel to destroy idolatrous nations. Holy crap. Oh shit. Okay, it's getting the Bible's okay. Jeez. Israel to destroy idolatrous nations. When the Lord your God When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, as he drives out many nations before you, the heathens, Gigas, Ammonites, Canaanites, 7 nations, more numerous and powerful than you. And when the Lord your God delivers them over to you and you defeat them, you must completely destroy them. Make no treaty with them and show them no mercy. You must not intermarry with them, and you must not give your daughters to their sons or take their daughters for their sons, because they will turn your sons away from me to worship other gods. Then the Lord's anger will burn. Then then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will swiftly destroy you. Instead, this is what you are to do with them: tear them down their altars, smash their sacred pillars, cut down their Asher poles, and burn their carved images. For you are a holy people, bringing for the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be his own possession out of all the people of the face of the earth. The Lord has his heart set on you and has chosen you, not because you were more numerous than all peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples, but because the Lord loved you and kept an oath he swore to your fathers. He brought you out of the strong hand and redeemed you from the place of slavery, from the power of the Pharaoh king of Egypt. Know that the Lord your God is God, and the faithful God who keeps his gracious covenant and loyalty for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commands. But he directly pays back and destroys those who hate him. He will not hesitate to pay back directly, though, one who hates him. So keep the command, the statutes, and ordinance, so that I am giving you to follow today. If you listen to and are careful to keep these ordinances, keep his convey loyalty with you, as he swore to your father. He will love you, bless you. If you listen to and are careful to these ordinances, the Lord your God will keep his covenant loyalty with you, as he swore to his covenant loyalty with you, as he swore to your fathers. He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will bless your offspring, and he will produce of your land your grain, your new wine, and fresh oil. The young of your herds are the newborns of the flocks. He will bless your offspring, and the produce of your land, your grain, your new wine, and fresh oil, the young of your herds, and the newborn of your flock in the land he swore to your fathers that he would give you. You will be blessed above all the people. There will be no interfile, male or female, among you or your livestock. The Lord will remove all the sickness from you. He will not put on you all the terrible diseases of Egypt, and you will know about, but he will inflict them on all who hate you. You must destroy all the peoples. The Lord your God is delivering over to you, and not look on them with pity. Do not worship their gods, for that they will snare to you. If you say to yourself, these nations are greater than I, how can I drive them out? Do not be afraid of them. Be sure to surrender what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and all Egypt, the great trials that you saw, the signs and wonders, and the strong hands and outstretched hand by which the Lord your God brought you out. The Lord your God will do the same to all the peoples you fear. The Lord your God will also assess the hornets against them, until all the survivors and those hiding from you perish. Don't be terrified of them, for the Lord your God, a great, awesome God, is among you. The Lord your God will drive out these nations before you, little by little. You will not be able to destroy them at once. Otherwise, the wild animals, the wild animals will become too numerous for you. The Lord your God will give them over to you and throw them into the great confusion until they are destroyed. He will hand their kings over to you, and you will wipe out their names under the heaven. No one will be able to stand against you. You will annihilate them, burn up the carved images of their gods. Don't covet the silver and gold of the images, and take up yourself or else you will be ensnared by it, for it is detestable to the Lord your God. Do not bring any detestable thing into your house. Do not, or you will not set apart, or you will be set apart for destruction like it. You are to adore and detest it utterly because it is set apart for destruction. Dang. Remember the Lord. Remember the Lord. Follow every command I am giving you today so that you may live and increase and may enter and take possession on the land of the Lord swore to your fathers. Remember that the Lord your God led you to the entire journey these 40 years in the wilderness so that he may humble you and test you to know that what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. Be humble. He humbled you by letting you go hungry. Then he gave you manna to eat, and which you and your fathers had not known, so that you might learn that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Your clothes did not wear out, and your feet did not swell these 40 years. Keep in mind that the Lord your God has been disciplining you just as a man disciplines his sons, so that the disciplines his son, so that the commands of the Lord your God by walking in his ways and fearing him. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, and the land with streams, springs, and deep waters, and so the God is bringing you into a good land, with a land with streams, springs, and deep water sources flowing in both alleys and hills, a land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you will eat food without shortage, where you will lack nothing, a land where rocks are iron, and from whose hills of or whose hills mine, you will mine copper. When you eat and are full, you will bless the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. Be careful that you don't forget the Lord your God is failing to keep his commandments. Be careful that you don't forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commands, ordinance, and statutes that I am giving you today. When you eat and are full and build beautiful houses to live in, and your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold multiply, then everything else you have increased. Be careful that your heart doesn't become proud, and you don't forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery. He led you through the land and the terrible wilderness with its poisonous snakes and scorpions, a thirsty land where there was no water. He brought water out of the flint rock for you. He fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers had not known, in order to humble and test you, so that in the end he might cause you to prosper. You may say to yourself, my power and my own ability may have gained this wealth for me. My power and my own ability may have gained this wealth for me. But remember that the Lord your God gives you the power to gain wealth in order to confirm his covenant he swore to your fathers as it is today. If you ever forget the Lord your God and follow other gods to serve them and bow in worship to them, I testify against you today that you will perish. If you ever forget the Lord your God and follow other gods to serve them and bow in worship to them, I will testify against you today that you will perish like the nations and Lord like the nations the Lord is about to destroy before you. You will perish, and if you do not obey the Lord your God, warning against self-righteousness. Listen, Israel. Today you are about to cross the Jordan to enter and drive out nations greater and stronger than you, with large cities fortified to the heavens. The people are strong and tall, the descendants of Anakim, and you know about them, and you have heard it said about them. Who can stand up to the sons of Anakim? But understand that today the Lord your God will cross over head of over ahead of you, consuming the fire. He will devastate and subdue them before you. You will drive, huh? You will drive them out and destroy them swiftly, as the Lord has told you. When the Lord your God drives them out before you, do not say to yourself, the Lord brought me in to take possession of this land because of my righteousness. Instead, the Lord will drive out these nations before you because of their wickedness. You are not going to take possession of their land because of your righteousness or of your integrity. Instead, the Lord your God will drive out these nations before you because of their wickedness, in order to fulfill the promise he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand that the Lord your God is not giving you this good land to possess because of your righteousness, for you are a sniff naked people. Israel's rebellion and Moses' intercession. Remember that you do not forget how you provoked the Lord your God in the wilderness. You have been rebelling against the Lord from the day you left the land of Egypt until you reached this place. You provoked the Lord at Horeb, and he was angry enough for with you to destroy you. When I went up to the mountain to receive the stone tablets, the tablets of the covenant the Lord made with you, I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I did not eat food or drink water. On the day on the assembly, the Lord gave me the two stone tablets inscribed by God's finger. The exact words were on them, which the Lord spoke to you from the fire of the mountain. The Lord gave me these two stone tablets, the tablets of the covenant, and at the end of the 40 days and 40 nights, the Lord said to me, get up and go down immediately from here, for you, the people whom you brought out of Egypt, have acted corruptly. Then they quickly turned from the way that I commanded them, and they have made a cast image for themselves. The Lord also said to me, I have seen this people, and indeed they are a stiff, naked people. Leave me alone, and I will destroy them and blot out their name under heaven. When then I will make you into a nation stronger and more numerous than they. Deuteronomy 9 to 10. So I went back down the mountain while it was blazing with fire, and the two tablets of the covenants were in my hand. I saw how you had sinned against the Lord your God. You had made a calf image for yourself. You had quickly turned from the way the Lord had commanded for you. So I took hold of the two tablets and threw them from my hand, shattering them before your eyes. I felt down like the first time in the presence of the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. I did not eat food or drink water because of all the sin you committed, doing what was evil in the Lord's sight and angering him. I was afraid of the fierce anger the Lord had directed against you because he was about to destroy you. But then the Lord listened to me on that occasion. The Lord was angry enough to Aaron to destroy him, but I prayed for Aaron. At the last time, also, I took the sinful calf you had made and burnt it. I crushed it, thoroughly grinding it to powder as fine as dust, and threw its dust into the steam that came down in the mountain. You continued to provoke the Lord at Tabera, Massa, and Kobira. Hatara, when the Lord sent you to Kadesh Barnea, he said, Go up and possess the land I have given Go up and possess the land I have given you. You rebelled against the command of the Lord your God. You did not believe or obey him. Damn. You rebelled against, you did not believe or obeyed him. You have been rebelling against the Lord ever since I have known you. I fell down from the presence of the Lord 40 days and 40 nights because of the Lord had threatened to destroy you. I prayed to the Lord your God, Lord God, do not annihilate your people, your inheritance, whom you redeemed through your greatness and brought out of Egypt with a strong hand. Remember your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, disregard this people's stubbornness and their wickedness and their sin. Otherwise, those in the land you brought us from will say, because the Lord wasn't able to bring them into the land he had promised them, and because he hated them, he brought them out to unalive them in the wilderness. But they are your people, your inheritance, to whom brought out of your great power and outstretched arm. the covenant, the covenant renewed. The Lord said to me at the time, cut 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and come to me in the mountains and make a wooden ark. A wooden ark? I will write on the tablets in the words that were on the first tablets you broke, and you are to place them in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood, cut 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and climbed the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. Then on the day of the assembly, the Lord wrote on the tablets. Okay, one moment, guys. Let me take a break. What the hell? Tablets like the first one, and climbed the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. Then on the day of the assembly, the Lord wrote on the tablets what had been written previously, the 10 Commandments that he had spoke to you on the mountain from the fire. The Lord gave them to me, and I went back down to the mountains and placed the tablets in the ark as I made them, and they have remained there as the Lord commanded me. The Israelites traveled from Beroth, Bene Jagan, and Aaron died in the buried there. His son became a priest, and they traveled from there to Gadosh, and Gadosh to the land of flowing streams. At the time, the Lord set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark of the Lord's covenant and stand before the Lord to serve him and to pronounce blessings in his name, as it is today. For this reason, the Levite does not have a portion of inheritance like his brothers. The Lord is his inheritance, as the Lord your God told him. I stayed in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights like the first time. The Lord also listened to me on this occasion. He agreed not to annihilate you. Then the Lord said to me, get up, continue your journey ahead of the people so that they may enter and possess the land I swore to give their fathers, what God requires. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you except to fear the Lord your God by walking in all his ways, to love him and to worship the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. Keep the Lord's commands and statutes I'm giving you today for your own good. The heavens, indeed the highest heavens, belong to the Lord your God, as does the earth and everything in it. Yet the Lord has his heart set on your fathers and loved them. He has chosen your descendants. He has chosen your descendants. He has chosen your descendants. Yeah, okay. Yet the Lord has his heart and his fathers, and the Lord your God, and so does the earth and everything in it. Yet the Lord had his heart set on your fathers and loved them. He chose their descendants after them, and he chose he chose you out of all the peoples as it is today. Therefore, circumcise your hearts and don't and circumcise your hearts and don't be stiff-necked any longer. For the Lord your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, the great, mighty, and awe-inspiring God, showing no particularity and taking no bribe. He executes justice for the fatherless and the widow. He loves the resident alien, giving him food and clothing. You are also to love the resident alien, as since you were a resident alien in the land of Egypt. You are to fear the Lord your God and worship him. Remain faithful to him and take oaths in his name. He is your praise and he is your God. Who has done for you these great who has done for you these great and awe-inspiring works your eyes have seen. Your fathers went down to Egypt, 70 people in all, and now the Lord your God has made you numerous like the stars in the sky. Remember and obey. Therefore love the Lord your God and always keep his mandate and his statutes, ordinance, and commands. Understand today that it is not your children who experienced or saw the disciples of the Lord your God. His greatness, his greatness, strong hand, and outstretched arms, no signs of the works, and he did in Egypt to Pharaoh the the king of and Egypt and all his land. What he did to Egypt, where Pharaoh the the where what his greatness, strong hand. Okay, your God, his greatness, strong hand, and outstretched arm, his signs and the works he did in Egypt to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all his land. What he did to Egypt's army, its horses and chariots, where he made the water of the Red Sea flow over them as they pursued you. He destroyed them completely. What he did to you in the wilderness until you reached this place, and what he did to Dahan, and Abraham, and the sons of Eliab, and Rebunite, when the middle of the when the middle of the whole Israelite camp, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them, their households, their tents, and every living thing with them. Your own eyes have seen every work the Lord has done. Keep every command I am giving you today, so that you may have the strength to cross into and possess the land you are to inherit, and so that you may live long in the land the Lord swore to your fathers to give them and your descendants, in the land flowing with milk and honey. For the land you are entering to possess is not like the land of Egypt from which you have come, where you sowed your seeds and irrigated by hand as in a vegetable garden. But the land you are entering to possess is a land of mountains and valleys, watered by rain in the sky. It is a land of it is the land it is a land the Lord your God cares for. He is always watching over it from the beginning to the end of the year. If you carefully obey my commands, I'm giving if you carefully obey my commands, I am giving you today to love the Lord your God and worship him with all your heart and all your soul. I will provide rain for your land in a proper time in autumn and spring and rains, and you will harvest your grain, new wine, and fresh oil. I will provide grass in your fields for your livestock. You will eat and be satisfied. Be careful that you are not enticed to turn aside, serve, or bow to worship any other gods. The Lord, the Lord's anger will, the Lord's anger will burn against you. You will shut. He will shut the sky, and there will be no rain. The land will not yield its produce, and you will perish quickly from the good land of the Lord is giving you. Imprint these words of mine on your hearts and minds. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them be a symbol on your forehead. Teach them to your children, talking about them. And when you sit in your house, teach them to your children, talk about them. When you sit in your house, and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up, write them on the doorsteps of your house and on your city gates, so that as long as the heavens are above the earth, your days and those of your children, there may be many in the land of the Lord wants to give your fathers. For if you carefully observe every one of these commands I'm giving you to follow, to love the I am giving you to follow, to love the I'm giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, walk in all his ways and remain faithful to him, "The Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will drive out nations greater and stronger than you are. Every place the sole of your foot treads will be yours. Your territory will extend from the wilderness of Lebanon to the Euphrates River of the Mediterranean Sea. No one will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God will put fear and dread on all you in the land where you set foot, as he has promised you. A blessing and a curse. A blessing, a blessing and a curse. Today I set before you a blessing and a curse. Therefore, there will be a blessing if you obey the commands of the Lord your God I am giving you today, and a curse if you do not obey the commands of the Lord your God, and you turn aside from the path I command you today by following other gods you have not known. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, you are to proclaim the blessing at Mount Gishon and the curse of Mount Ebal. Aren't these mountains across the Jordan beyond the western road of the land of Canaanites who live in the Arab opposite Gilgal, near the oak of Moreh? For you are about to cross the Jordan to enter and take possessions in the land of your Lord. Take possessions the land the Lord your God is giving you. When you possess it and settle in it, be careful to follow all the statutes and ordinances I set before you, the chosen place of worship. Be careful to follow these statutes and ordinances in the land the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you to possess all the days you live on the earth. Destroy completely all the places where the nations that you are driving out worship their gods, on the high mountains, on the hills, and on the high mountains, and the hills, and under every green tree. Tear down their altars, smash their sacred pillars, burn their Asherah poles, cut down the carved images of their gods, and wipe out their names from every place. Don't worship the Lord your God this way. Instead, turn to the place your Lord your God chooses from all your tribes to put his name for his dwelling and go there. You are to bring you are to bring there your burnt offerings and sacrifices, your tenth and personal contributions, your vote offerings and free will offerings, and your firstborns in the herds and flocks. You will eat there in the presence of your Lord your God, and rejoice with your household in everything you do, because the Lord your God has blessed you. You are you are not to do as we are going here today. Everyone is doing whatever seems right in his own sight. Indeed, you are not yet come to the resting place and the inheritance the Lord your God is giving you. When you cross the Jordan and live in the land of the Lord your God is giving you to inherit, and he gives you rest from all the enemies around you and live in security. When the Lord your God will choose the place to have his name dwell, bring there everything I command you, to your burnt offerings, sacrifice offerings of the tenth personal contributions, and your choice offerings you vowed to the Lord. You will rejoice before the Lord your God, and your sons and daughters your male and female slaves, and the Levites who is within your city gates, since he has no portion or inheritance among you. Be careful not to offer your burnt offerings in all the sacred places you see. You must offer your burnt offerings only in the place the Lord chooses in one of the tribes, and you must offer your burnt offerings only in the place the Lord chooses in one of your tribes, and there you must do everything I command you.
It's all part of a complex, interconnected web. Every event,
Offer your burnt offerings only in the place the Lord chooses in one of your tribes. Alright, guys. We're gonna keep reading. Slaughtering animals to eat, but whenever you want, you may slaughter and eat meat within any of your city gates, according to the blessings of your Lord your God has given you. Those who are clean or unclean may eat it, as they would a gazelle or deer. Both, but you must not eat the blood poured on the ground like waters. Within your city gates you may not eat the tenth of your grain, new wine, or fresh oil. The first one of your herd of the flock may another any of you without offering that place your free will offerings or your personal contributions. You are to eat them in the presence of the Lord your God, at the place the Lord your God chose, you and your son, daughters, and males and female slaves, and the Levite who is with you in your city gates. Rejoice before the Lord your God in everything you do, and be careful not to neglect the Levite as long as you live in the land. When the Lord your God enlarges your territory as he has promised you, and you say that I want to eat meat because I have a strong desire to eat meat, you may eat it because you may eat it whenever you want. If the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name in is too far from you, you may slaughter any of your herd or flock he has given you. But as I commanded you, and you may eat it from within your city gates whenever you want. Indeed, you may eat the gazelle and the deer, and both clean and unclean may eat it, but don't eat the blood, since the blood is the life, and you must not eat the life, the meat. Do not eat blood. Pour it in the ground like waters. Do not eat it, so you and your children after you have full prosperity, because you will be doing what is right in the Lord's sight. Because you are able to take the holy offerings you have to you have and your vow offerings, and go to the place the Lord chooses. Present the meat and blood of your burnt offerings on the altar of the Lord your God. The blood of your other sacrifices is to be poured out besides the altar of the Lord your God. But you may eat meat. Be careful to obey all these things I command you, so that you and your children after you may prosper forever, because you will be doing what is good and what is right in the sight of the Lord. When the Lord no when the Lord your God annihilates the nations before you, which you are entering to take possession of, and you drive them out and live in the land. Be careful not to be ensnared by their ways after they have been destroyed before you. Do not inquire about their gods, asking, how did these nations worship their gods? I'll also do the same. You must not do what the same of the Lord your God, because they practice every detestable act which the Lord hates. Their gods, they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire of their God. Be careful to do everything I command you. Do not add anything to it, or take anything away from it. The false prophet. It is a prophet or someone who has dreams arises among you and proclaims a sign or wonder to you. That sign or wonder he promised you comes about, but he says, let us follow other gods, which you have not known, and let us worship them. Do not listen to that prophet's words, or to that dreamer. For the Lord your God is testing you, to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. You must follow the Lord your God and fear him. You fear him. You must keep his commands and listen to him. You must worship him and remain faithful to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death, because he has urged rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the place of slavery to turn you from the way of the Lord your God has commanded you to walk. You must purge the evil from you. Wow. Don't tolerate idolatry. If your brother, the son of your mother, or the son of your daughter, or the wife you embrace, or your closest friends secretly entice you, saying, let us go and worship other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, any of the gods of the peoples around you, near you or far from you, from one end to the end of the other, do not yield to him or listen to him. Show him no pity, and do not spare him or shield him. Instead, you must unalive him. The hand is to be the first against him, to put him to death. And then the hands of the people stone him to death for trying to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery. All Israel will hear and be afraid, and then will no longer do anything evil like this among you. If you hear it said about one of your cities that the Lord your God is giving you to live in, that wicked men have sprung up again among you, led the inhabitants of their cities astray, and said, "Let us go and worship other gods, which you have not known." You are to inquire, investigate, and interrogate thoroughly. If the report turns out to be true that this detestable act has been among you, you must strike down the inhabitants of that city with the sword, completely destroy everyone in it, as well as the livestock in the with the sword. You are to gather all its spoil in the middle of the city square and completely burn the city and all its spoils to the Lord your God. The city is to remain a mound of ruins forever. It is not to be rebuilt. Nothing set apart for destruction is to remain in your hands, so that the Lord will turn from his burning anger and grant you mercy, show you compassion, and multiply you as he swore to your fathers. This will occur if you obey the Lord your God, keeping all his commands I am giving you today, doing what is right in the sight of the Lord your God. Forbidden practices. You are sons of the Lord your God. Do not cut yourselves or make a bald spot of your head on behalf of the dead, for you are a holy people belonging to the Lord your God. The Lord has chosen you to be his own possession. Do not possession out of all the people on the face of the earth. Clean and unclean foods. You must not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals. These are the animals. You must not eat any detestable thing. You must not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals you may eat: oxen, sheep, goats, deer, gazelle, roar, deer with goats. You may eat any animal that has hooves divided into and choose the cub. But among divided into and choose the cub. But among the ones that chew and cut the cud and have divided, but among the ones that chew the cub and have divided hopes, you are not to eat these: camels, hares, and hyraxes. Though they chew the cub and they do not have hopes, they are unclean for you. The pigs, though they have hopes, they do not chew the cub, they are unclean for you. Do not eat their meat or touch their carcasses. You may eat everything from the water that has fins and scales, but you may not eat anything that does not have fins and scales. It is unclean for you. You may eat every clean bird, but these are the ones you may not eat: eagles, bearded vultures, black vultures, and kites, any kind of falcon, every kind of raven, ostriches, short-eared owls, gulls, any kind of hawk, little owls, long-eared owls, barn owls, eagle owls, ospreys, or cormorants and strokes, any kind of heron, hoops, and bats. All winged insects are unclean for you. They may not be eaten, but you may eat every clean flying creature. You are not to eat any carcasses. You may give it to a resident alien within all your city gates, and he may eat it, or you may sell it in the fort, or you may sell it to a foreigner. For you are a holy people belonging to the Lord your God. Do not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. The tenth for the Lord. Each of you are to set aside a tenth of all the produce grown in the fields. You are to eat a tenth of your grain, new wine, and fresh oil, and the firstborn of your herd and flock in the presence of your Lord your God at the place where he chooses to have his name dwell, so that you will always learn to fear the Lord your God. but if the distance is too great for you to carry it, but if the distance is too great for you to carry it, since the place where the Lord your God has chose to put his name is too far away from you and your uh, since the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far away from you, and since the Lord your God has blessed you, then exchange it for silver. Take the silver in your hand and go to the place of the Lord your God chooses. You may spend the silver on anything you want. You may spend the silver on anything you want, cattle, sheep, goats, wine, beer, or anything you desire. You are to feast there in the presence of the Lord your God and rejoice with your family. Do not neglect the Levite within your city gates, since he has no portion or inheritance among you. At the end of every three uh, at the end of every 3 years, bring a tenth of all your produce for all the year. At the end of every 3 years, bring a tenth of all your produce for all the year and store it with your city gates. Then the Levite who has no portion or inheritance among you, the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow within your cities' gates may come, eat, and establish at the Lord, and the Lord your God will bless you for all the work you. Okay. At the end of every 3 years, bring a tenth of all your produce for that year, and store it within your city gates. Then the Levite who has no portion of inheritance among you, the resident alien, the fatherless, the widow within your city gates may come, eat, and be satisfied. And the Lord your God will bless you in all the work of your hands that you do. Debt canceled. Debts cancelled. At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how you cancel debt. Every creditor is to cancel what he has lent his neighbor. He is not to collect anything from his neighbor or his brother, because the Lord's release the debts has been proclaimed. You may collect something from a foreigner, but you must forgive whatever your brother owes you. When there will be no poor among you, however, because the Lord is certain to bless you in the land of the Lord your God is giving you to possess as an inheritance. If only you obey the Lord your God and are credited to follow every one of these commands I am giving you today. When the Lord your God blesses you as he has promised you, you will lend to many nations. When the Lord your God blesses you as he has promised you, you will lend to many nations but not borrow. You will rule many nations, but they will not rule you. Lending to the poor. If there is a poor person among you, one of your brothers within any of your city gates in the land of the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted towards your poor brothers. Instead, you are to open your hand to them, freely loan him enough for whatever need he has. Be careful that there isn't this wicked thought in your heart. The seventh year, the year of canceling debts, is near, and you are stingy towards your poor brother and give him nothing, he will cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty. Give to him, and don't have a stingy heart. When you give, and because of when when give to him, and don't have a stingy heart. When you give, and because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your works and in everything you do. For there will never cease to be a poor people in the land. That is why I am commanding you. Open your hand willingly to your poor and needy brother in your land. Release of slaves. If your fellow Hebrew, a man or a woman, is sold to you and serves you 6 years, you must set him free in the seventh year. When you set him free, do not send him empty handed. Give generously to him from your flock, your threshold floor, and your winepress. You are to give him whatever the Lord your God has blessed you with. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That is why I am giving you this command today. But if your slave says to you, I don't want to leave you because he loves you and your family, because he loves you and your family is well off with you, take in all and peace through his ear into the door, and he will become your slave for life. Also treat your female slave the same way. Do not regard it as a hardship when you set him free because he worked for you 6 years, worth twice worth twice the wages of a hired worker. Worth twice worth twice the wages of a hired worker. Then the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Work twice the wages of a hired worker. Then the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Consecration of firstborn animals. Consecrate of the Lord of your God of every firstborn male produce of your herd and flock. Consecrate the Lord of your God, first God, every firstborn male produce of your herd and flock. You are not to put the firstborn of your oxen to work or shear in the firstborn of your flock. Each year you and your family are to eat it before the Lord your God in the place of the Lord chooses. But if there is a defect in the animal, it is lame or in the blind, and it has serious defect, you may not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. Eat it within your city gates. But unclean person and the clean may eat it, as thought it were a gazelle or a deer. But you must not eat its blood. Pour it out of the ground like water. The festival of Passover. Set aside the month of Abib and observe the Passover of the Lord your God, because the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt by night of the month of Abib. Sacrifice the Lord your God a Passover animal from the herd of the flock in the place of the Lord chooses to have his name dwell. Do not eat leavened bread with it. For the 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread with it, the bread of hardship, because you are left in land of Egypt in a hurry, so that you may remember for the rest of your life the day you left the land of Egypt. No yeast is to be found anywhere in your territory for 7 days. No, none of the meat you sacrifice is the. In the evening, you are the first of the first day is to remain until morning. You are not to sacrifice the Passover animal in any of the towns of the Lord your God is giving you. Sacrifice the Passover. Sacrifice the Passover animal only at a place where the Lord your God chooses to have his name dwell. Do this in every evening as the sun sets in all the alarm time of the day you departed from Egypt. You are to cook and eat it in the place the Lord your God. Ah, ah, Lord your God chooses, and you are to return to your tents in the morning. Eat unleavened bread for 6 days. On the seventh day there is to be a solemn assembly of the Lord your God. Do do not do any work. Festivals of weeks. You are to cut 7 weeks, counting the weeks from the ninth time of the sickle and the first put of the standing grain. You are to celebrate the festival of weeks in the Lord your God with the free will offering that you give in proportion to how the Lord your God has blessed you. Rejoice before the Lord your God in the place where he chooses to have his name dwell. You, your son and daughters, have male and female slaves, the Levite within your city gates, as well as the resident alien, the fatherless and the widow among you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. Careful, follow these statutes. The festival of shelters. You are to celebrate the festival of shelters for 7 days, when you have gathered in everything from your threshold floor and wine press. Rejoice during your festival, you and your sons and daughter, male and female slave, as well as the Levite, the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow within their cities. You are to hold a 7 day festival to the Lord your God in the place that you choose, because the Lord your God will bless you in all your produce and all the work of your hands, and you will have abundant joy. All your males are to appear 3 times a year before the Lord your God in the place he chooses, at the festival of unleavened bread and the festival of the weeks and the festivals of the shelters. No one is to appear before the Lord empty handed. Everyone must appear with a gift suited for his means, according to the blessing of your Lord your God has given you, appointing judges and officials. Appointing judges and officials. Appointing judges and officials for your tribes in all the towns of the Lord your God is giving you. They are to judge the people with righteous judgment. Do not deny justice or show partiality to anyone. Do not accept or bribe, for it blinds the eye of the wise. And do not accept a bribe, for it blinds the eye of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. Pursue justice and justice alone, so that you will live and possess the land of the Lord your God is giving you. Wow. Forbidden worship. Do not set up an ashen or any kind of wood text in the altar you will build for the Lord your God, and do not set up a sacred pillar, and the Lord your God hates them. Do not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox and sheep with a defect or of any serious flaw, or that it detestable for the Lord your God. The judicial procedure of idolatry. If a man and woman among you are in one of the towns of the Lord your God will give you is discovered doing evil in the sight of the Lord your God, and is violating his covenant, and he has gone to serve other gods by bowing or worshipping the sun, moon, and all the stars in the sky, which I have forbidden, and if you are told or hear about it, then investigate it thoroughly, and the reports turns out to be true that the detestable acts of that has been done in Israel, you are to bring out the city gates that man or woman who has done his evil thing, stone them to death. Then one condemned to die is to be executed on the testimony of the 2 or 3 witnesses. No one is to be executed in the testimony of a single witness. The witness's hands are to be in the first in putting him to death, and after that the hands of all the people. You must purge the evil from you. You must purge the evil from you. Difficult cases. If a case is too difficult for you concerning the bloodshed lawsuits and assaults cases, disputes in at your city gates, then go up to the place of the Lord your God chooses. You are to go to the Levitical priests and the judges who presides at the time. And they will give you a verdict. In any case, you must abide by the verdict they give you at the place the Lord chooses. Be careful to do exactly as they instruct you. You must abide by the instructions that give you to the verdict they announce to you. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the decisions they declare to you. The person who acts arrogantly, refusing to listen either to the priest or who stands there serving the Lord your God, or to the judge, must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. Then all the people will hear about it, be afraid, and no longer behave arrogantly. Appointing a king. When you enter the land of the Lord your God is giving you, to take possession of it, live in it, and to say, I, I will set a king over me like all the nations around me. You are to appoint over to the king of your Lord your God chooses. Appoint a king from your brothers. You are not to set a foreigner over you, and you are or one who is not of your people. However, he must not acquire many horses for himself, or send the people back to the Egypt to acquire many horses. For the Lord has told you, you are never going to go back again. You are never going to go back that way again. You must not acquire many wives for himself, so that his heart won't go astray. He must not acquire very large amounts of silver and gold for himself. When he is seated on his royal throne, he is to write a copy of his instructions for himself on a scroll in the presence of the Levitical priests. It is to remain with him. He is to read it from the days of his life. He read from it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, and to observe all the words in this instruction, and to do these statutes. Then his heart will not be exalted from above his countrymen. He will not turn from his command to the right or to the left. He and his sons will continue regaining many years in Israel. Provisions for the Levites. The Levitical priests and the whole tribe of the Levi will have no portions of inheritance with Israel. They will eat the Lord's fire offering, that is their inheritance. Although Levi has no inheritance among his brothers, the Lord is his inheritance, as he promised him. This is the priest's share from the people who offer a sacrifice, whether it is an ox, a sheep, or a goat. Our priests are to be giving the shoulder, jaw, and the stomach. You are to give him the first fruits of your grain, new wine and fresh oil, and the first shared wool of your flock. For the Lord your God has chosen him and his sons from all your tribes to stand to minister in his name from now on. When a Levite leaves one of your towns in Israel, where he is staying and wants to go to the place the Lord chooses, he may serve in the name of the Lord his God, and all his fellow Levites who minister there in the presence of the Lord. They will eat equal proportions besides what he has received from the sale of his family estate. Occult practices versus prophetic revelation. When you enter the land of the Lord your God is giving you, and do not imitate or the detestable customs of those nations. Do not imitate the detestable customs of those nations. No one among you is to sacrifice his son or daughter in the fire, practice divination, tell fortunes, interpret omens, practice sorcery, cast spells, consult a medium or a spiritist, or inquire of the dead. Anyone who does these acts is detestable to the Lord, and the Lord your God is driving out the nations before you. Because of these detestable acts, you must be blameless before the Lord your God. Though these nations you are about to drive out listen to fortune tellers and diviners. The Lord your God has not permitted you to do this. The Lord your God will rise up for you a prophet like me from among your own brothers. You must listen to him. This is what you requested from the Lord your God at Horeb in the day of the assembly when you said, "Let us not continue to hear the voice of the Lord. Our God is to see this great fire any longer, so that we will not die." Then the Lord said to me, They have spoken well. I will arise up for them a prophet like you among their among their brothers. I will put my word in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I commanded him. I will hold accountable whoever does not listen to my words, and he speaks in my name. For the prophet who presumes to speak like a messenger in the name that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of the other gods, that prophet must die. You may say to yourself, how can we recognize a message the Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the Lord's name and the message does not come true or is not fulfilled, this is the message the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Do not be afraid of him. Cities of refuge. When the Lord your God annihilates the nations whose land he is giving you, so that you drive them out and live in their cities and houses, you are to set apart 3 cities for yourself within the land of your Lord your God is giving you to possess. You are to determine the distance. You are t- you are to determine the distances and drive the land of your Lord your God is granting you as an inheritance into 3 regions, any so that anyone who commits manslaughter can flee to these cities. Here is the law concerning a case of someone who unalives a person and flees there to save his life, having unalived his neighbor accidentally without previously hating him. For example, if he goes into the forest with his neighbor to cut timber, and the hand swings in the axe and chops down the tree, so the blade flies off the handle and strikes his neighbor so that he dies, that the person may flee into one of these cities and live. Otherwise, the avenger of blood, of the heat of his anger, might pursue the one who commits the manslaughter, overtake him because the distance is great, and strike him dead when he did not deserve to die, since he did not previously hate his neighbor. This is why I am commanded you to set apart 3 cities for yourselves. If the Lord your God enlarges your territory as he swore to your fathers, and he gives you all the land he promised to give them, provided you keep every one of the commands I am giving you today, and follow them, loving the Lord your God, and walking in the ways of all the time. So you are to add 3 more cities to these 3. In this way, innocent blood will not be shed, and you will not become guilty of bloodshed in the land of the Lord your God is giving you it as an inheritance. But if someone hates his neighbor, lies in ambush for him, and attacks him and strikes him fatally, and flies to one of these cities, the elders of his city are to send for him and take from there and hand him over to the avenger of the blood. He will die. Do not look on him with pity, but purge from Israel the guilt of shedding innocent blood, and you will not prosper. Boundary markers. Do not move your neighbor's boundary marker. Establish the start of the inheritance, and you will receive in the land of the Lord your God is giving you to possess. Witness in court. One witness cannot establish an iniquity or sin against a person. Whatever that person has done, must the fact must be established by the testimony of those three witnesses. Is a malicious witness testifies against someone accusing him of a crime. The two people of the dispute are to stand in the presence of the Lord. Therefore, the priests and the judges and authority of that time, the judges are to make a careful investigation. And if the witness turns out to be a liar who is falsely accusing his brother, you must do to him as he intended to do to his brother. You must purge the evil from you. You must purge the evil from you. Then everyone else will hear or be afraid. He will never again do anything evil like this among you. Do not show pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, and foot for foot. Damn, that's powerful. Rules for war. When you go out to the war against your enemies and see the horses and chariots and an army larger than yours, do not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, is with you. When you are about to engage in battle, the priest is to come forward and address the army. He is to say to them, "Listen, Israel. Today you are about to engage in a battle with your enemies. Do not be cowardly. Do not be afraid. Do not be alarmed or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory." These officers are to address the army. He has any man built a new house and not dedicated it? Let him leave and return home. Otherwise, he may die in battle, and another man dedicate it. He may. Has any man planted a vineyard and not begun to enjoy its fruit? Let him leave and return home. Otherwise, he may die in battle, and another man enjoy his fruit. He has. Has any man become engaged to a woman and not married her? Let him leave and return home. Otherwise, he may die in battle, and another man may marry her. The officers will continue to address the army and say, Is there any man who is afraid or cowardly? Let him leave and return home, so that his brothers won't lose heart as he did." When the officers have finished addressing the army, they will appoint military commanders to lead it. When you approach the city to fight against it, make an make an officer of peace. If it accepts your office of peace and opens its gates to you, all the people found in it will become forced, all borer for you and serve you. Otherwise, however, if it does not make peace with you but wage war against you, lay siege to it. When the Lord your God hands it over to you, strike down all its males with the sword, but you may take the women, dependent animals, and whatever else is in the city, all its spoils as plunder. You may enjoy the spoil of your enemies, and the Lord of your God has given you. This is how you are to treat all the cities that are far away from you and are not among the cities of these nations. However, you must not let any living thing survive among the cities of these people. The Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. You must completely destroy them: the Hethite, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzite, Hivite, and Jebus, as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that they won't teach you how to do all the detestable acts that they do for their gods. And you sin against the Lord your God. And you sin against the Lord your God. When you lay siege to a city for a long time, fighting against it in another to capture. When you lay siege to a city for a long time, fighting against it in order to capture it, do not destroy its trees by putting an axe to them, because you can get food for them. Do not cut them down. Are trees in the field human, or are trees of the field human to come under siege by you? But you may destroy the trees, and you know that do not produce food. You may cut them down to build siege works against the cities that is waging war against you until it falls. Unsolved murders. If a murder victim is found lying in the field in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess, and it is not known who unalived him. Your elders and judges are to come out and measure the distance from the victim to the nearby cities. The elders of the cities near to the victims are to get a young cow that has not been yoked or used for work. The elders of the city will bring the cow down to a continuously flowing stream to a place not tilted or sworn, so that they will break its neck where there by the stream. Then the priests, the sons of Levi, will come forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to serve him and pronounce blessings in the name in his name, and they are to give a ruling in every dispute, and in case an assault there all the elders of the city near the victims will wash their hands by the stream over the young cows whose neck has been broken. They will declare, our hands did not shed this blood, our eyes did not see it, Lord. Wipe away the guilt of your people, Israel, whom you redeemed, and do not hold the shedding of an innocent blood against them. Then the responsibility of the bloodshed will be wiped away from them. You must purge for yourselves the guilt of shedding innocent blood, for you will not be doing what is right in the Lord's sight. Fair treatment of captured women. When you go to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God hands them over to you, and you take some of them prisoners, and if you see a beautiful woman among the captives, desire her, and you want to take her as your wife, you are to bring her into your house. She is to shave her head, trim her nails, remove the clothes she has wearing, and she has taken prisoner, live in your house, and mourn for her father and mother a full month. After that you may have sexual relations with her and her husband. What? And be her husband, and she will be your wife. And if you are not satisfied with her, you are to let her go where she wants. But you must not sell her or treat her as a merchandise, because you have humiliated her. The right of the firstborn. If a man has two wives, he one loved and one other unloved, both the loved and the unloved bear sons. And if the unloved wife has the firstborn son, when that man gives what he has to his sons as an inheritance, he is not to show favoritism to the son of the loved one of the loved wife as the firstborn over in the firstborn of the unloved wife. He must acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved wife, by giving him 2 shares in his estate, for he is the first fruits of his fertility, and he has the rights of the firstborn. A rebellious son. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother and does not listen to them even after they discipline him, his father and mother are to take hold of him and bring him to the elders of the city and to the gate of his hometown. They will say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious, and he does not obey us. He is gluttonous and drunk. Then all the men of this city will stone him to death. You must purge the evil from you, and all Israel will hear and be afraid. Display of executed people. If anyone is found guilty of an offense deserving of the death penalty and is executed, and you hang his body over on a tree, you are not to leave his corpse and the tree overnight, but are to bury him that day. For anyone hung on the tree is under God's curse. You must not defile the land of the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Caring for your brother's property. If you see your brother Israelite's ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it. Make sure you return it to your brother. If your brother does not live near you or does not know him, you are to bring an animal to you, her home to remain with you until your brother comes looking for it. Then you can return it to him. Do the same thing for his donkey, his garment, and anything your brother has lost and has found. You must not ignore it. If you see your brother's donkey and an ox has fallen down on the road, and do not ignore it. Help him lift it up, preserving natural distinctions. A woman is not to wear male clothing, and a man is not to put a woman's garments. For everyone who does not these things is detestable to the Lord your God. And if you come across a bird's nest with the chicks or eggs, and either of the trees on the ground along the road, and the mother is sitting on the chick eggs, and do not take the mother along with the young, you may take the young for yourself, but be sure to let the mother go free. So that you may prosper and live long. If you build a new house, make a railing around your roof, so that you don't bring blood. So you don't bring blood guilt on your house if someone falls from it. Do not plant your vineyard with two types of seeds, otherwise the time harvest both the crops you plant and the produce of the vineyard will be defiled. Do not plow an ox or a donkey together. Do not wear clothes made of both wool and linen. Make tassels of the four corners of the outer garment you wear. Violations of proper sexual conduct. If a man marries a woman, has sexual relations with her, and he comes to hate her, he accuses her of shameful conduct and gives her a bad name, saying, I married this woman and was immature and intimate with her, did not find any evidence of her virginity. The young woman's father and the mother will take the evidence of her virginity in the city of the in the city of the what the hell? This is weird. My The young woman's father and mother will take the evidence of her virginity and bring it to the city elders at the city gate. The young woman's father will say to the elders, I give my daughter to this man and his wife, but he hates her, and he accused her of shameful conduct, saying, I didn't find any evidence of your daughter's virginity, but here's the evidence of your daughter's virginity that will spread to also the city of the elders. Then the elders of the city will take the man to punish him. They will also fine him 100 silver shekels and give them to the young woman's father, because the man gave an Israelite virgin a bad name. So he will remain his wife's. He cannot divorce her as long as he lives. But if this accusation is true and no evidence of the young woman's virginity is found, they will find the woman to do. Bam. Okay. They will bring the woman to the door in her father's house and they will bring the woman. They will bring the woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city will stone her to death, for she has committed an outrage in Israel by being pro-actors while living in her father's house. You must purge the evil from you. If a man is discovered having sexual relations with another man's wife, for both the man who had sex with the woman and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. If there is a young woman who is a virgin engaged in a man and another encounters her in the city, sleeps with her, take the two of them out of the gate of the city and stone them to death. The young woman because she did not cry out to the city, the man because he has violated his neighbors beyond the city. You must purge the evil from you. But if the man encounters an engaged woman in the open country and he seizes her and rapes her, only to the man who rapes her must die. Do nothing to the young woman because she is not guilty of the offense deserving death. This case is just like one of the man who attacks his neighbor and murders him. When he found her in the field, an engaged woman cried out, but there was no one to rescue her. If a man encounters a woman, a virgin who is not engaged, takes hold of her, and they are to be discarded. The man who raped her is to give the young woman's father 50 silver shekels, be and she will become his wife because he violated her. He cannot divorce her as long as he lives. A man is not to marry his father's wife, and he must not violate his father's marriage bed. Exclusion and exclusion. Uh, no man whose testicles have been crushed or who's into the Lord's assembly. No one's okay, this sentence is weird. Okay, because they did not meet you with food or water in the journey. You came with Egypt, become Balaam and Berer. Yet the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam, but he turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. Never pursue their welfare or property as long as you live. Do not despise the Hebrew because he is your brother. Do not despise an Egyptian because you were a resident alien in his hand. The children born of them in the third generation may enter the Lord's assembly. Cleanness of the camp. The children born, in the third generation may enter the Lord's assembly. Cleanness of the camp. All right, cleanliness of the camp. When you are encamped against your enemies, be careful to avoid anything offensive. If there is a man among you who is unclean because of the bodily emissions during the night, he must go outside the camp. He may not come anywhere inside the camp. When evening approaches, he is to wash with water, and when the sun eats, he may come inside the camp. You are to have a place outside of the camp and go to relieve yourself. You are to have a digging gold in your equipment. When you relieve yourself, dig a hole with it. Cover your your excitement for the Lord your God walks through your camp to protect you and deliver your enemies to you. So your encampments must be holy. He must not see anything incident among you, or he will turn away.